What's up, guys? Captain Rick Stanczyk here. Got another fishing report for you. It's the last week of February here, and we're finally getting into a what feels like a springtime weather pattern. We've had a few late cold fronts, which has kind of goofed up some of the fishing, especially the tarpon fishing that we've seen, be pretty good in February the last few years. This year, just been a little more hit and miss. We've still been catching some fish, but a lot of days we've been having to work at it. The snook bite's been fair at best, some windows where it's good, but with a lot of the wind and temperature changes and all the mud getting stirred up in the bay, it's made it a little difficult in a lot of spots. But we've been mixing it up and doing a few different things. I'm gonna go over it with y'all over the last few days here. All right, so on Monday, I had Danny, Caroline, and Jay. And over the weekend, like I mentioned, we had a major wind event, a late cold front. The temperature didn't drop too much, but it did get, into the low 60s. But the wind, it was blowing, a good 25 to 30 on Sunday. And then on Monday, it laid down a hair, but it was still 20 to 25. But nice thing for me, I'm in a nice 25-foot contender bay boat. It can handle that weather no problem, running into the backcountry. We have a lot of protected water to run through, so you can stay in 2 or 3 foot of water for 90% of the ride and still go pretty quick in that boat. In a skiff, you'd have to zig and zag and really kind of take your time getting back there. It's doable, but in a bay boat, it's really nice because you can still go fast and not lose too much time, having to zig around for the wind. So we went back into the Everglades, fished deep in the creeks out of the wind where it's protected, and we were able to put a pretty good day together. Not a red hot bite by any means, but one of those days where you just had to jump around and catch one fish here, one there, two there, none there, one there, none there. You know what I mean? Just not any big rallies for the first part of the day, and we really had to work at it. Again, it was a lot of wind and mud kicked up from all the wind that we had, over the weekend. So a lot of areas just didn't look real good, and we had to really put in effort. We had pilchards though, and we worked at it, and the fish did respond a bit. Finally, at the end of the day, closer to the end, we got into one area after we moved that the water looked really good. It was the tip top of the tide, not as a spot that I usually fish on the low tide, but there wasn't a whole lot of good looking options, so we tried it, and we did get into a couple good rallies of snook. There you go. You got a fighter there, that's a good one.
Oh, nice. The
Biggest one of the day.
Big time. That's huge. That's what, like.
All right.
Nice.
Where we caught, 6-8 fish off a couple different spots. So a lot of fun, and it made the day. Take a look at these snook here. Everyone did a good job and good casting, and made for a fun day. So that was the day with them. I was glad that it worked out so well. All right, so the next day I had Mark and Mike on Tuesday. They fished with me a few years ago. Mike was reminding me of a big tarpon he caught, that he still had fresh in his mind, fish of a lifetime for him. Always nice to make that happen for an angler. First thing that they wanted to do, they said tarpon. I had told them, guys, it's been hit and miss. We've had these late fronts, not like a few years ago where it was pretty solid fishing for most of February. So we kind of altered our plans. I don't like to ever tell anyone, no, it's not even worth doing, unless it's like really not worth doing. So we did give it a try. I told them we could look for a little bit in the morning. We caught some bait, so we had to take some time to do that. Then we took a little more time going out, to an area to look for tarpon where they were the week before. But we didn't see much, a west wind had kind of kicked up a little bit, which a lot of times fish just don't like it in the backcountry. That wind kind of blows onshore, and that really kind of makes a lot of that mud that I'm talking about. But regardless, we didn't really see much. And then we kind of, took it as well because we were going to run further into the backcountry and ran for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we could see some weather building. and it was a good amount of rain, you know, and just not the type of rain you want to just run through. It looked like it was pouring and going to be pouring for a good little bit. So we had to backtrack around and tried to fish for, you know, some trout and redfish kind of near where we had been looking for those tarpon and a few ditches, but it was just a complete mud hole, hard current, and you know, not too fishable. We had to wait for 20 or 30 minutes, you know, for that rain to pass, and then finally we were able to run where I wanted to for, you know, looking for some snook. But, you know, we were just kind of behind the 8 ball, just one of those days where, you know, it kind of got us. And again, fishing hadn't been easy, so we lost a bit of time to the weather, and we lost some time, you know, trying to look for those tarpon. So we were in, you know, that mode where you just want to go to a good spot and hopefully, you know, pound on some fish real quick. So I went right where I went the day before, where I had done really well, and today it was just a slow pick. We caught, you know, a few fish. We had to work at it for an hour or so and caught maybe half a dozen. Tried 2 or 3 other spots with nothing at all, and you know, just tough, but we did catch a few. At that point we decided to bail. Boys said, hey, maybe just some snapper or something like that, so we worked our way back, you know, towards home, tried a few islands. You know, I hit a couple more spots for snook that I hadn't been in a while, and just nothing going on there either. We did jump into our little snapper hole, and wouldn't you know it, we caught snook there. We did catch about half a dozen there too, and a few snappers. So, you know, that was about it for the day. Time just kind of ran out on us. Like I said, one of those days where you got behind the 8 ball, maybe trying to do too much when fishing just wasn't all that good, and we should have focused on one thing, but you never know unless you try. But again, we put together a catch, 10 or 12 snook and a handful of other things. It's not always so glorious out there, you know, days with big numbers. Some days you work hard to catch that handful, but they always mean more to you. We worked hard at it, and the guys still had a good time though. All right, and so the day after that, Wednesday, it was like a complete 180 from a few days before. It was slick calm. Just look how gorgeous it was. I mean, like running on a lake out there. And really, you know, the ideal conditions you'd want for tarpon. So unfortunately for you know, Mark and Mike the day before, this was really the day they wanted, but you just never know what that day is going to be when you got to book in advance. I had Scott, Jeff, and Wynn, and they kind of just wanted to bend the rod. They didn't care with what so much. So we caught our bait, and I started out with some snook in a different area that I hadn't really fished in a little bit again. And we had a hard falling tide and still a lot of mud, but we found a few little pockets, you know, where there was a little eddy in the current, and you could kind of flip your pilchard in there and you know, have it be in play in the bite zone for enough time. And we worked at it, and we were able to pick away at some snook, you know. Again, not a red hot bite, but we were able to just have a slow, steady pick. A few little tarpon in the mix too, you know. I think we jumped 3 or 4, and we caught a few big snappers as well. As the tide slowed down, you know, within a couple hours, the snook rallied a little bit for us, you know, where we got into, you know, a good little bite, catching 6, 8 fish in a couple spots again, and picking a few more, and then we finally did catch a little tarpon too. So we ended up having a pretty good morning, you know. I think a couple dozen snook, the tarpon, and a few big snappers and jacks, all in a couple hours. So things worked out well. It's nice when it's easy like that. I wish every day was like that, but again, you know, you only can do what you can do. We had a little time left still after that, so we made a good run out west to see if some of the big tarpon were starting to show up again. And sure enough, you know, they were out there flopping, jumping around, doing their thing. So we had some mullet, and we put a little bit of time in for that. Actually didn't have to put in too much time. We saw a few fish and got set up where I thought looked good. And sure enough, first bait out, within about 10-15 minutes, Wynn was hooked up to a nice 80-90 pound fish. Put on a great show, lots of good jumps. Got a really cool triple jump out of this fish. Just take a look at that. It was really awesome. He was stoked. Didn't get it up to the boat for pictures, but we had it on the leader and popped off, but no big deal. He wasn't too worried about it. So yeah, that was really fun. Scott caught a big blacktip shark after that. You know, one of those real big ones that pulls about as hard as a big tarpon does. You know, it ran out about 200 yards of line. Really exciting.
Keep out.
Bam.
again. Boy, you already know. Oh, I seen his nose.
Big old shark tail.
Oh, is that a tail?
Yeah.
Like I said, I seen his
Yeah,
tail.
just kind of reel that slack in there. Get a look at him here.
There he is. There he
Yeah,
is.
big old black tip.
That's pretty good size shark. There he
Woo.
went.
And then Jeff got a big tarpon after that, you know. And again, nice show out of this fish. We got this one, you know, to the hand.
Oh! He got you on video anyway, Jason. Oh!
But just wouldn't roll over for a good boatside picture, but some really good video, which, you know, that's why I always try to take video. You never know if that tarpon, especially when they're big, is going to cooperate for a nice picture by the boat. But really good fishing, you know. We did that all in an hour and a half, the last hour and a half of the day. 2 big tarpon, nice big shark. Again, just an easy day, nice when it's like that. Had a great time. So looking good for the future for tarpon here. Hopefully we don't have any more good hard cold fronts. All right, and so my last day, Thursday, I had Ed and his buddy Pedro. These guys said they'd known each other for like 40 years, you know, living in Miami, did a lot of fishing in South Florida. So really cool guys. I had a really good time with them. They were not interested in pulling on big fish, so I was kind of hoping to do the big tarpon again, you know, Thursday, but they didn't want it, so we switched back to snook fishing. We were able to catch some bait for that, and jumped in around some of the islands where I had had some good luck the day before, and wasn't quite as good today, but it was good enough. You know, we picked at the snook. We caught, I think, maybe 6 or 8. Had to really work at it. You know, no big rallies, just one here, one there. A few nice snappers as well, but the little tarpon actually bit really well. We caught 3 little tarpon, you know, to the hand. Nice pictures of them. Take a look at them. You know, nice fish.
Yeah.
Little beat up looking, but they were healthy. We were real careful with them.
Oh, we're going good.
There he is. Oh, nice tarpon.
Oh, look at that thing. Oh my God.
He hadn't jumped yet. Oh, we're in a bad spot now.
Now, all right.
Could you?
Can you get under?
Yeah, I'm under.
Got it. Look at that. You did it.
After all that,
He tried to get off of there every way he could.
yeah.
Don't like that net.
No, he doesn't.
All right, this time, fish.
There
we go. Woohoo! All right.
All
Good
right.
job. I like using that boga grip to hold those fish because it's just a lot easier for people not to drop them and then to release them. Just drop them right in, you know, with a little running head start with their head in the water. You got to watch out for the sharks back there, so you can't, you know, hold them by the lip and hold them in the water. But a lot of fun. You know, we put another 2 or 3 little tarpon in the air, and I think we even missed another 2 or 3 bites where they just didn't get the bait. So they were all fired up. It was really, you know, nice day, a very light north breeze, a little bit cooler air, which felt good because the day before was really hot, you know, and it was feeling like summer a little bit. You know, we did that for a few hours and again had a couple hours to kill later in the day. They weren't interested in the big tarpon, like I said, so we jumped around looking for snook in some other areas, and again, just a slow bite. We hit 4 or 5 spots, you know, out in my normal stomping grounds, and you know, it was like sit there for 20 minutes, get a bite, hope you catch it. I think we only caught 1 or 2 when we missed another 2 or 3, and that was it, you know, for the last bit of the day. So decent day again. I think we wound up with maybe a dozen snook and the 3 little tarpon and a few snappers and jacks and stuff. But a lot of fun. You know, these guys were fun to have on the boat, and they hadn't been to Flamingo in a long time, and they appreciated seeing it. So I was glad to give them a good experience. All right, guys, so that's it for me for this week. Again, you know, fishing's been decent, but we've been having to work at it a lot of days, but I'm hoping it's big tarpon time now. You know, hopefully no more late fronts. And looks like next week we got a little bit of wind over this weekend here, but a few calm days coming up, so should be good for those big tarpon. Plenty of guides around if you want to get out there after them. There's fish in the backcountry where I go, and I know there's some fish showing up around the bridges and the local channels, you know, just right back here. So if you're looking to do a half day, we got plenty of guys right at Bud and Mary's that can take you to do it. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like the video and hit that subscribe button. Check out the Stan's gear. We got it for sale here at Bud and Mary's. You can also buy a Bud and Mary's shirt. I'll drop a link below to do that. And hope to catch you guys next time. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.